Billions of years ago, there were no humans, no cities glowing at night, no voices, no memories, no music, no history. The earth was silent, a violent world of fire and poison. Oceans crashed against empty shores beneath a sky filled with ash. Volcanoes tore the planet apart. Asteroids struck with enough force to erase entire worlds. There were no eyes to witness it, no minds to understand it. For most of Earth's existence, life itself didn't even exist. Just rock, water, darkness, and endless time. Then somehow, something impossible happened. Dead matter began to organize itself. Molecules became cells. Cells learned to survive. Life evolved, adapted, fought, and died for billions of years across an unforgiving planet. Species came and vanished. Entire worlds of creatures disappeared forever. And through all of that chaos, evolution produced something strange. Not the fastest animal, not the strongest, not the largest, but a creature that could think. A species that looked up at the stars and wondered what they were. A species that became aware of its own existence. Humans. And when you really think about it, that may be the most shocking thing of all. Because black holes don't question reality. Galaxies don't wonder why they exist. Stars burn for billions of years without ever realizing they are alive. But somehow, collections of atoms on a small planet orbiting an ordinary star became conscious enough to ask questions about the universe itself. Questions about time, about death, about meaning, about why anything exists at all. Maybe that's the real mystery. Maybe the strangest thing in the universe isn't dark matter, black holes, or distant galaxies. Maybe it's humans. The strange thing is, Earth was never supposed to be comfortable. Long before humans existed, this planet was a nightmare. The early Earth was a world of chaos. Giant volcanoes erupted constantly, pouring fire across the surface for millions of years. The sky was thick with toxic gases. Oceans boiled beneath relentless asteroid impacts. Entire regions of the planet melted under unimaginable heat. There were no forests, no oxygen to breathe, no peaceful blue planet floating through space. Just violence, a dead world orbiting an ordinary star. And yet somehow, life survived here, which is almost unbelievable when you realize how fragile the conditions really were. If Earth had formed slightly closer to the sun, the oceans might have evaporated completely. Slightly farther away, and the planet could have frozen into a lifeless wasteland. If Jupiter hadn't absorbed countless asteroids with its gravity, massive impacts might have sterilized Earth again and again. If the moon didn't stabilize Earth's tilt, the climate could have become too chaotic for complex life to evolve. Even the atmosphere had to be almost perfectly balanced. Too little oxygen, and large animals never develop. Too much, and wildfires consume the planet constantly. Everything had to align. Not perfectly, but closely enough for life to continue. And even then, survival was never guaranteed. Life on Earth came dangerously close to extinction multiple times. Massive volcanic eruptions poisoned the atmosphere. Ice ages nearly froze the oceans solid. Asteroids wiped out entire dominant species in an instant. At any moment in Earth's history, the chain could have broken, and humans would never exist. No civilizations, no history, no consciousness asking questions about the universe. Nothing. Which leads to a deeply unsettling realization. Human existence may depend on a series of accidents so unlikely, they almost feel impossible. A slightly different planet, a slightly different star, a single asteroid arriving earlier or later, and you would never have been here. Because the truth is, the universe didn't seem designed for humans. If anything, it seemed determined to erase them before they ever began. And yet somehow, against impossible odds, we survived. So how did life begin? How did a dead planet covered in rock, water, and chemicals eventually produce living creatures capable of thought? That question remains one of the greatest mysteries in science. Because at some point in Earth's ancient past, something extraordinary happened. Non-living matter became alive, not instantly, not magically, but somehow simple chemicals organized themselves into systems complex enough to grow, adapt, and reproduce. Scientists call this idea abiogenesis, the process by which life emerged naturally from non-living matter. And in theory, the early Earth had the perfect conditions for it. The planet was violent, electrically active. Oceans churned with chemicals. Lightning constantly struck the atmosphere. Volcanoes released gases into the air. Heat, pressure, and energy existed everywhere. A giant chemical laboratory. Over millions of years, simple molecules may have combined into more complex ones. Amino acids formed. Organic compounds accumulated in the oceans. Eventually, some of these molecules may have developed the ability to copy themselves. And once replication begins, evolution begins. Tiny molecular systems compete, survive, and improve generation after generation. Slowly, chemistry starts behaving like biology. Eventually, something resembling the first primitive cell appears. A microscopic ancestor to every living thing that has ever existed. Plants, animals, dinosaurs, humans. All connected to that first fragile spark. At least, that's the theory. Because despite decades of research, we still don't know exactly how it happened. We've recreated parts of the process in laboratories. Scientists have shown that organic molecules can form naturally under early Earth conditions. We know the building blocks of life can emerge without living organisms. But the leap from chemistry to consciousness, from molecules to life, remains deeply mysterious. No one has ever fully created life from scratch. And the deeper scientists investigate, the stranger the problem becomes. Because life is more than just matter. Your body is made of atoms, no different from the atoms inside rocks, oceans, or stars. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. The same ingredients exist everywhere in the universe. So why does one arrangement of matter remain dead, while another becomes alive? At what point does chemistry stop being chemistry? At what point does matter begin wanting to survive? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, how does unconscious matter eventually become something that can think, feel, and know it exists? Because somewhere between the first microscopic cells and the human mind, the universe crossed a line where matter stopped being passive and became aware, and we still don't understand how. Once life began, it didn't move toward humans. At least, not intentionally. For billions of years, evolution had no goal, no plan, no final destination waiting at the end, just survival. Tiny organisms competed for resources, some adapted, others disappeared. Small advantages, better vision, faster movement, sharper instincts, were passed on generation after generation. Over unimaginable stretches of time, simple life became more complex. And eventually, one scientist changed how humanity understood that process forever. Charles Darwin. His theory of evolution by natural selection revealed something both elegant and unsettling. Species are not designed. They evolve through random variation and survival. Life changes because certain traits happen to work better in a specific environment. Those organisms survive long enough to reproduce. Others don't. No master blueprint. No predetermined outcome, just endless trial and error across millions of years. And evolution is brutally inefficient. More than 99% of all species that ever lived are now extinct. Entire branches of life vanished permanently. Creatures that once dominated the earth disappeared without a trace. Oceans filled with species that no longer exist. Forests populated by animals erased from history forever. Extinction isn't the exception, it's the rule, which makes human existence feel even stranger, because we are not the center of evolution. We are just one tiny branch on an enormous tree of life, a branch that survived, barely. And perhaps the biggest example of that luck happened 66 million years ago, when an asteroid struck Earth. The impact triggered fires, earthquakes, and a global winter powerful enough to collapse ecosystems across the planet. Most large species died, including the dominant rulers of Earth at the time. The dinosaurs. For over 160 million years, dinosaurs controlled the planet. They were successful, powerful, and incredibly adaptable. Humans didn't exist. Mammals were small, weak creatures hiding in the shadows. But after the asteroid changed the planet, everything shifted. The extinction of the dinosaurs opened ecological space for mammals to evolve rapidly. Over millions of years, some developed larger brains, complex social behavior, and eventually, us. Which leads to an unsettling possibility. If that asteroid had missed Earth, humans might never have existed. Dinosaurs may have continued ruling the planet for millions more years. Intelligent primates might never evolve. Civilization might never happen. No cities, no technology, no one asking questions about existence, just a completely different world. And suddenly humanity stops feeling inevitable. We begin to look accidental, a product of random extinctions, environmental chaos, and evolutionary luck stacked on top of luck. Which raises a strange question. Were humans always meant to appear? Or are we simply the survivors of a cosmic lottery that almost went another way? Evolution can explain how creatures survive. It can explain claws, teeth, speed, camouflage, and instinct. But there's one thing it still struggles to fully explain: consciousness. Because at some point, life stopped merely reacting to the world and started experiencing it. Most animals live through instinct. They hunt, flee, reproduce, and adapt based on biological programming shaped over millions of years. But humans are different. We don't just experience reality. We are aware that we are experiencing it. You can sit alone at night and think about your childhood. Imagine the future. Fear death decades before it arrives. Wonder whether your choices matter. Question the existence of the universe itself. And somehow, all of that emerges from 3 pounds of biological tissue inside the human skull. A network of neurons made from ordinary matter, which raises a question that becomes stranger the more you think about it. Why did evolution create consciousness at all? Because self-awareness can feel more like a burden than an advantage. Animals suffer in the moment. Humans suffer in memory, imagination, and anticipation. We know we will die. We carry anxiety about the future. We question meaning. We create philosophy, religion, art, and science in an attempt to understand our place in reality. No other known species does this at our level. And science still doesn't fully understand why consciousness exists. We can observe brain activity. We can map neurons firing. We know certain regions control memory, emotion, and perception. But none of that explains the actual experience of being conscious. Why does matter feel like something from the inside? Why should electrical signals inside a brain create awareness at all? Some scientists believe consciousness is simply an evolutionary accident, a side effect of increasingly complex brains. Intelligence became useful for survival, and self-awareness emerged unintentionally along the way. In this view, consciousness has no deeper meaning. It's just biology becoming complicated enough to observe itself. But others see something far stranger. Maybe consciousness isn't an accident. Maybe it's the next stage of the universe. After all, for billions of years, the cosmos was silent. Stars burned, galaxies formed, planets drifted through darkness without meaning anything to anyone. Then eventually, the universe produced minds capable of observing it, minds capable of asking questions, minds capable of understanding. And maybe that changes everything. Because perhaps consciousness is not separate from the universe. Perhaps it is what the universe becomes, when it finally learns to look back at itself. Humans often see themselves as the peak of evolution, the smartest species, the most advanced life form on Earth. And in many ways, that's true. We split the atom, walked on the moon, built civilizations visible from space, created mathematics capable of describing galaxies billions of light years away. No other known species has transformed a planet the way humans have. But when compared to the universe itself, we are still incredibly small. Every human civilization in history exists on a thin layer of rock surrounding a tiny planet orbiting an ordinary star in one galaxy among hundreds of billions. And even our intelligence may not be as permanent as we imagine, because evolution never stops. It didn't stop with fish, it didn't stop with dinosaurs, and it may not stop with us. Right now, humanity is beginning to create forms of intelligence beyond biology. Machines capable of learning, adapting, and solving problems faster than human minds ever could. Artificial intelligence. At first, they are tools. But tools evolve. And some scientists believe we may be approaching a moment where intelligence separates from the human brain entirely. A post-human future. Not necessarily through destruction, but through transformation. Genetic engineering could alter human biology. Brain-computer interfaces may merge thought with machines. Future generations might live longer, think faster, and exist partially in digital worlds we can barely imagine today. And if that happens, then humans, as we currently exist, may only be a temporary phase, a bridge between primitive biological life and something entirely new, which forces us to confront a strange possibility. Maybe humanity is not the final form of intelligence. Maybe we are an early experiment, a transition point in a much longer evolutionary story. After all, the universe existed for billions of years before humans appeared. And if intelligent life continues evolving for millions more years, then we may eventually seem as primitive as the first organisms crawling through Earth's ancient oceans. And yet, despite all our achievements, we still ask the same questions our ancestors asked beneath the stars. Why are we here? What comes next? And perhaps most importantly, will the future still be human? Because evolution has never cared about permanence, only what survives long enough to become something else. For thousands of years, humans have tried to answer the same question. Why are we here? And long before modern science existed, people searched for meaning through philosophy, spirituality, and religion. Many belief systems share a common idea, that humans were created intentionally, not as accidents of chemistry or evolution, but as part of a larger purpose. In this view, consciousness is not random. Human existence is meaningful because it was designed by something beyond the physical universe. For some, that explanation is God, a creator who brought the universe into existence and gave humanity a unique role within it. Across civilizations and throughout history, billions of people have believed that human consciousness reflects something deeper than biology alone. But not all modern theories are religious. Some philosophers and scientists have proposed something equally strange. What if reality itself is artificial? The simulation hypothesis suggests that our universe could be an advanced simulation created by a civilization far more intelligent than us. Everything we experience, space, time, matter, even human history, might exist inside a constructed reality, a cosmic program. And if that sounds absurd, consider this. As human technology advances, we are already building digital worlds, artificial intelligence, and simulations that grow increasingly realistic. If civilizations continue progressing for thousands or millions of years, creating entire simulated realities may eventually become possible, which leads to an unsettling question. If simulated consciousness can exist, how do we know we aren't already inside one? Then there's another idea, one even more difficult to define. The possibility that the universe itself is conscious. Not conscious like a human mind, but aware in some deeper, incomprehensible way. In this perspective, humans are not separate from the cosmos. We are expressions of it. Small fragments of a larger universal consciousness experiencing itself through billions of individual lives. A poetic idea, maybe even comforting. But here's the truth. None of these explanations can currently be proven, not scientifically, and none can be fully ruled out either. That's what makes this question so powerful. Every answer reveals another mystery behind it. Science explains mechanisms. Religion offers meaning. Philosophy explores possibilities. But in the end, we are still left standing between certainty and mystery, trying to understand why conscious beings appeared in a universe that never promised to explain itself. Every atom in your body was born long before you existed. The carbon in your cells, the oxygen in your lungs, the iron in your blood, all of it was forged inside ancient stars that died billions of years ago. Before humans existed, The universe spent unimaginable stretches of time creating the elements necessary for life. Stars formed, burned, and exploded. Galaxies collided. Matter scattered across space and eventually gathered into planets like Earth. And somehow from that cosmic process came you, a living organism made from stardust. But here's the truly strange part. Those atoms are not alive on their own. A single carbon atom doesn't think. A neuron by itself doesn't understand reality. Matter should just be matter. And yet when arranged in the right way, it becomes conscious. The universe creates brains capable of memory, imagination, emotion, and self-awareness, which means something extraordinary may have happened on Earth. For billions of years, the cosmos was silent and unconscious. Stars burned without meaning. Galaxies spun through darkness without knowing they existed. Then eventually, a species appeared that could observe the universe and question its own existence. Humans. And maybe that changes how we see ourselves. Because perhaps consciousness is not separate from the cosmos. Perhaps it is a continuation of it. A universe made of matter, becoming aware of matter. A cosmos slowly opening its eyes, which leads to one final haunting possibility. Maybe humans are not outside the universe looking in. Maybe we are the universe, looking back at itself. Through humans, the universe became aware of itself. So after everything, we're still left with the same mystery. Why are there humans? Maybe the answer is simple. Maybe we are just the result of chemistry, evolution, and time. A temporary species formed through billions of years of random mutations and natural selection on a small planet in an ordinary galaxy. An accident. A rare combination of conditions that happened to work. And one day, like countless species before us, we may disappear. The universe will continue without us. Stars will still burn. Galaxies will still drift through darkness. Time will continue moving forward in complete silence, as if humanity never existed at all. But maybe that's not the full story, because even if humans are accidental, consciousness itself may still be one of the rarest things in existence. Think about it. The observable universe contains hundreds of billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, endless worlds scattered across incomprehensible distances. And yet, as far as we currently know, this may be the only place where the universe has become capable of asking questions about itself. That alone makes human existence extraordinary. Not because we are powerful, not because we are eternal, but because we are aware. For a brief moment in cosmic history, the atoms of the universe assembled into living minds capable of wonder, fear, imagination, and curiosity. Minds capable of looking into the night sky and asking why any of this exists at all. And maybe that is enough. Maybe the meaning was never about dominance or permanence. Maybe it was about awareness. Because in the end, the strangest thing may not be that humans exist, but that the universe created something capable of questioning its own existence. Maybe the real question isn't why humans exist, but why the universe wanted something that could ask why.